So the last part of the question is going to ask us to create a report. And in this report, we need to create a report that shows a list of galleries and their exhibitions. For each gallery, you need to calculate the end date for each exhibition, the total number of exhibitions, and the total number of days that the exhibitions will run. This could be a relatively straightforward question, so long as you understand how to create a report. And there's a couple of points I need to go over here to help you do this. Now, our report needs to display a suitable report title, the gallery names, the start date for each exhibition, and the end date for each exhibition. We also, in order to make the calculations, need to calculate the end date of an exhibition and the total number of exhibitions. We'll need to use a query to calculate the end date for each exhibition, and then we'll create a report from that query. The first step to do is to create a new field in a query which will include the gallery names, the start date, the end date, and a new field we'll create which is end date, which is exhibition start date plus number of days. Access is smart, and in its intelligence we can use exhibition start date plus number of days. This will mean that number, say for instance 5, added on to a date, say for instance the 12th of January, will mean that the end date becomes the 17th of January. This will allow us to achieve at least the pass criteria, or even a merit, for adding a calculated field like this. In Access, we'll need to create a new query. Go to the Create tab and hit Query Design, or we could use Query Wizard. Let's head for Query Wizard, and we're going to use tables from the gallery and exhibition tables. So we'll need the gallery and the exhibition. For the exhibition, we'll need exhibition start date and number of days. Now, we'll need also the gallery, which is the gallery name. If we click Next, we'll call this QURY Report Activities Query for the report, Activity 3. And then we'll want to modify the query's design. Once the query is open, we're going to need to add the new field. So this is going to be end date. Let's write end date, colon. Now we want to open square brackets. Square brackets allow us to target a value from another field. So we want to target exhibition start date. And we want to add number of days, num days, from the same table. Now if we click show and we run this query, we'll now see that the number of days that the exhibition is on and the end date is included. Once you've written this, we'll need to create a report. A report can be created using the Report Wizard. First of all, save this query. Next step, click Report Wizard, and then for the query Report Activity 3, use all of the fields that have been included in this query. Click Next. Now, how do we want to view this data? It's important that we think about how we're viewing the data based on how we want the data to be presented in the report. Now, I know because there's a number of different exhibitions at the same gallery, we want to view the data using the gallery, by gallery, rather than by exhibition. So click by table gallery, and then click Next. Once again, click Next, and then click Next again. Now, the way I want to present this report is so that each of the fields are in a block, so that I can read them easily. I find if they're indented, I might not see information. The last thing to do, let's label it the report and give it a good name. You want to start off with using a naming convention, which is RPT when we're writing a report. Now I'm going to call this report Exhibitions. I'm going to modify the report's design once I've finished. Click Finish. Once the report's open, we can view it in the report view, and we'll see that by gallery, it gives us a list of the exhibitions, the number of days they're on, and the end date. Go back to the report design view, and now we want to add a footer, not a page footer. It's important you make the distinction between a page footer and a section footer. Click on Group and Sort. we want to go on the More tab, and then we want to add a footer section. We want to put with a footer section. The reason being is we need to, in order to answer this question, count the total number of exhibitions for each gallery. Now in the gallery footer section, we can add a new function which is going to count the number of records displayed here in the detail. So we'll need to use a text box. If we click and drag this into the report, we'll be able to write a function which will count what is in the detail. And we can use this using equals, count, open parentheses, asterisk or star, close parentheses. We'll also want to give the label a name, number of exhibitions. You are marked for the presentation of your report, and we'll deal with that in a minute. For the time being, let's look at what's happening here. Make sure you save your report. Then go to the report view. Now, underneath each of the galleries, we have a count of the number of exhibitions that are on. You can see 1 here, 2 there, 2 there, 1 here. Now, if we check what criteria is required, we're now displaying the total number of exhibitions for each gallery. The total number of days that exhibitions will run in each gallery is the next activity we need to check for. We have already achieved this. And as you can see here, underneath in this column, we have number of days, 3, which does give a total for each of the exhibitions that are running. In doing this does mean that our report is adequate for submission, but we might just want to check that we've included the right details. As you can see from the report, it does say that we need to make some evidence. So we'll need to evidence our report using screen print. It should show the design view for the report you've created, including grouping and calculations, the design view of any queries you have created and used within the report, including fields and criteria, and the datasheet view of any queries you have created and used within the report. Now, on the activity 3 candidate materials, which you'll be given in the exam, it will provide you with a section to add these screenshots in the report. And we can add a design view screen print of the report, and if applicable, the design view and data sheet view screen prints of any queries the report uses. Let's start off with the design view of the report. To do this, we'll need to be in the design view. And you'll need to take a screen print of the detail, the page header, as well as the gallery footer. You want to include the gallery footer because it shows calculations that have been included. If you don't do that, you will need to take a picture or take a screen print of the property sheet for the text label that you added, but otherwise we can close that. So take a print screen of the report, including the tab at the top. And then paste this into the report. This means that we've ensured any details such as calculations, etc. have been included. Now we need the design view and the datasheet view of the query we used. So we can take a print screen of the query, but make sure when we're taking this print screen, we want to make sure that anybody marking our paper can see the full calculation we've used. Otherwise, we could lose marks. Take a print screen and include the tab where the query is named. Paste that onto the candidate materials and then run the query to see what the datasheet view looks like. Take a print screen, including the tab at the top. It's important the tab at the top is included because sometimes the examiner might think we fabricated the data. By including the tab at the top, it shows that it's coming from the same design view. This is quite important, and I would recommend you do this during the exam. The last step is to export this as a PDF. So click File, Save As, select the folder where you're saving your files, and then name it using the correct or appropriate naming conventions which are given in Access on your exam sheet. So it's activity 3, then your registration number, surname, and first letter of first name. You'll need to make sure you save as type PDF. If you do not save as PDF, you do run the risk of losing marks, or you will lose marks. It must be saved as a PDF. Enter the registration number and your surname and first letter of first name in order to complete this question. Once you've saved it, you can move on to the next question.